This venison mushroom braise is melt in your mouth goodness using those grill your ass off seasonings we love so much, and some straight up deer meat and rice, baby. This is a fairly simple recipe, so we're going to be using stew meat. So it's basically either venison or beef that's cut up in small pieces. Fairly usually it's a tougher cut, so it has to be broke down by stewing it. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. We'll be braising it. We'll be using some wine. I got some Pinot Noir from Liberty Creek out of California. We got some carrots, onions, and mushrooms, and we're going to be using gunpowder from Grill Your Ass Off for seasoning the meat and to season this up. So let's get into it. All right, we're going to take and dry off our meat. And we're going to slice it up a little smaller, just get some smaller pieces so that we can get the seasoning all over, and it'll help it break down a little faster too, so it doesn't take as long to cook. All right, so now we have cut up our stew meat here, and now we are going to add our seasonings. Now we're going to be using gunpowder, and we're going to use approximately 3 tablespoons. And now we're just going to mix that up. Make sure every piece gets coated really well. All right, it's coated up real well. We're going to let that sit until we're ready to put it on. So it's probably going to get to sit and marinate for at least 30 minutes or so. So now we're going to do our veg. We're going to basically cut this up into small pieces. You can chunk it. You don't have to be too precise with the carrots or the onions. It's all going to get cooked down and get soft and tender anyway. But if you want it to disappear more into it, you're going to get it with smaller pieces. That way they can dissolve more, but you're still going to have the yellow color. There'll still be the pieces floating around, but they won't be big chunks. So I like to make them a little smaller, not quite diced, but close. Now with the onion, we're just gonna rough chop it. It will pretty much disappear in our braise, so we just give it a rough chop just to have some, break it down so it can break down a little easier. But we're doing 2 sweet onions. You can go with a yellow onion if you prefer to have more savory, less sweet. All right, for our mushrooms, we're going to take a skillet, throw half a stick of butter in, let that kind of melt down a little bit. We got this on a fairly low medium heat. We're going to take our 1 pound of mushrooms, go ahead and add it in. All right, we're going to dust it with a little bit more of this gunpowder, just to kind of help season these up just a little bit, because they will take a little bit away from the seasoning since we're adding more to it. So we'll add just a little bit of seasoning to it just to kind of help. We're going to let this cook down slowly and gently until they're all tender, but we don't want to take them till they're mush. We want to take them till they're tender. saute them just a little bit, let that butter sweat out some of the moisture, and we'll get them ready to put in our braised liquid in a little bit. Our mushrooms have already cooked down quite a bit. They're not as, this thing's not as full. You can see how much moisture has come out of them already. So these are about ready to pull off the side. You don't, like I said, you don't want to cook them too much, because then they'll turn to mush when we put them in for the last 30 minutes of the cook. So set these off to the side till we're ready to use them and put them in the pot. I think we're good here. They're still firm, but yet the center is firm, but the sides are and tops are soft. So because they're so small, they'll cook faster. So we got that butter on them, got the seasoning on them. We'll turn this off, and we will add it for the last 30 minutes of the cook with in the braising liquid. All right, now we got our deep skillet here, heated up with a little bit of oil in it. Take and put this is venison, but you can do this with beef. We're going to add our onions while this is cooking. Add our carrots. We're going to let this cook down a little bit, and then we'll add our liquid for the braise. All right, we're going to take some sprigs of thyme, and we're going to try and strip the leaves off. Hold on to definitely the hardier of the stems. Do about 4 or 5 sprigs worth. Now that our onions have sweated out a little bit, and we got a little bit of char on some of these pieces of meat, we're going to add our wine. So we're going with 2 cups of Pinot Noir. If you don't have Pinot Noir, you can go with a Merlot. You want to go or a Shiraz, especially if you're using venison. You want to stick with a drier, spicier wine. Then you want to go then sweeters. So stay away from the sweets, because you already have sweetness from the carrots and a little bit of these onions, since I'm using sweet onions. So we're sticking with a Pinot Noir. All right, now we're going to let this stir this up just a little bit. You can use beef broth if you don't want to use wine, but it changes the flavor profile. So go with a wine if you can. And now we're going to cover this once it starts to boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for at least 2 to 3 hours, depending on how long it takes for that meat to get fork tender, to where it can be pulled apart but it's not mushy. So we'll let this boil, and then we'll put the lid on it, and then we'll simmer it. All right, this has been cooking for about an hour and a half. Now we're going to add our sauteed mushrooms. All right, and let that continue to cook for another half hour, or until the meat is fork tender. All right, our meat is fork tender. So we're going to let this cool a little bit. We'll plate it up. We're going to plate it with some beef rice. So basically just going to take some white basmati rice and mix it with, cook it with beef stock instead of just plain water, to give it more flavor and so it doesn't take away from this braised roast. This smells amazing. I can't wait to try it. It's on a bed of rice. We cooked this basmati rice in beef stock, just like you would cook normal rice. In a rice cooker is what I use. I rinse it, put it in a rice cooker, and use beef broth or chicken broth, depending on what you're cooking to go with the rice. But I use broth instead of water to help. So this ought to be amazing. Soft and tender. The carrots just melt. The mushrooms just melt. There's no like chewiness at all to them. The meat's got flavor. This is just a great all-around meal, and it's not that much stuff. You can throw this stuff in a slow cooker. Like, share, and subscribe.